You know, for the longest time, we all kind of thought our brains were, well, fixed. That our personalities, our flaws, they were just hardwired in. But what if that whole idea was just completely wrong? Today, we're going to dive into a revolutionary concept, that the only thing that's constant about your brain is that it's always changing.
So let's just jump right into the deep end. Can a psychopath, someone we're told is basically born without a conscience, actually learn to feel empathy? Is that even possible?
Or how about this one? A fear that, let's be honest, a lot of us have, losing our minds as we get older. When it feels like it's all just downhill, could something as simple as music actually be a powerful tool to fight back against dementia?
And for any parent out there, this one's huge. When a child struggles to focus, is medication really the only option? Or could we actually train their brains to control themselves?
Well, according to the incredible research of neurobiologist Niels Birbaumer, the answer to all of these questions is a huge, resounding yes. And it all comes down to understanding one powerful and honestly life-changing idea. And that idea is neuroplasticity. This isn't just some pop psychology buzzword, okay? This is the core principle that our brains are not set in stone. They're like living clay, constantly being reshaped by everything we do, think, and experience. And to really get what this means, let's use it to bust some of the biggest myths we have about the brain.
We're going to start with maybe the most extreme example you can think of, the idea that psychopaths are just broken beyond repair. You know, that the only thing you can do is lock them away and throw away the key.
So, let's talk about a guy from the research. We'll call him Stefan. He's 42, a successful web designer, totally charming on the surface, but underneath, he has zero concern for other people's suffering, he feels no fear, and when you scan his brain, the parts that process emotion are basically asleep. This is your classic textbook psychopath, supposedly unchangeable, right? Well, here's the bombshell. Birbaumer's research found that even these brains are not permanently broken. With the right kind of training, you can actually teach these brains to light up those dormant areas, to start to feel empathy, to even develop a healthy sense of fear. So the person we thought was unfixable, turns out, maybe not. Okay, so if a psychopath's brain isn't set in stone, what about something that affects pretty much all of us as we get older? Let's tackle myth number 2, the belief that our brains are just destined to decline, that things like dementia are a one-way street.
And you want to know one of the secret weapons in this fight? It's amazing, really. This quote gets right to it. The act of playing music physically changes the brain so much that you can almost always spot a musician's brain scan. It builds these stronger, more resilient connections.
And this isn't just some nice theory, you guys. The results in practice are just, wow. We're talking about targeted brain training using music therapy that can actively slow down dementia. It can help patients regain some control over their own minds, pushing back against cognitive decline and seriously improving their quality of life.
All right, this brings us to our third big myth, and this is a really big deal for so many parents out there. The idea that for behavioral disorders like ADHD, medication is the only real answer. So let's just lay it out side by side. On one hand, you've got medication like Ritalin. It can manage the symptoms, sure, but it often comes with side effects, and it basically just quiets things down. But on the other hand, you have neurofeedback. This is the neuroplasticity approach. It's drug-free, and it doesn't just manage symptoms. It actively trains the brain to regulate itself. So you're probably wondering, what does this actually look like? Well, picture this. An 8-year-old kid named Maximilian is playing a video game. He sees a rocket on the screen. To make the rocket fly right, he has to concentrate. He's literally steering it with his thoughts. And when he does it right, he gets a reward, like a smiley face. He's not just playing a game, he's building the mental muscles for focus and self-control, all without a single pill. Okay, so we've talked about fixing problems, but what if we could use this same power not just to fix, but to enhance, to unlock abilities we never even thought we had? This is where things get really wild.
12,000. Just let that number sink in for a second. That's how many books the famous savant Kim Peek, who was the real-life inspiration for the movie Rain Man, had memorized, word for word. His brain shows us the absolutely insane storage capacity we have.
So how in the world is that even possible? Well, the research suggests that savants have what you could call an open perception window. It's like, imagine your brain has a filter that helps you ignore most of the junk coming in, so you can focus. Well, their filter is wide open. They take in everything, which allows for these incredible feats, but it often makes things like abstract thought a real challenge.
But, and this is a really important but, this amazing ability for our brains to change and adapt, it has a dark side, a really dangerous one: addiction. The same mechanism that lets us learn and grow is the exact same one that can trap us.
Look at this. It lays out the whole trap so clearly. That first time, right, the pleasure, the liking is super high. But then look what happens. After the 10th time, the 100th time, the pleasure you get is tiny, almost gone. But the craving, the wanting, has shot through the roof. The brain has literally rewired itself to chase something that doesn't even feel good anymore.
So when you boil it all down, fixing things, learning amazing skills, getting trapped, what's the brain's endgame? What is it really trying to do? And the answer is actually incredibly simple. The brain's number one job, its prime directive, is to create an effect. It wants to interact with the world, to make something happen, and to see the results of its actions.
It's always chasing that reward, that little hit of dopamine that comes from making something happen. And that chase leads to the most fundamental rule of biology: use it or lose it. If a part of your brain isn't successfully creating effects and getting rewarded for it, your brain will eventually just let it go.
Which leads us to one last, really deep question. If the brain is its ability to create an effect, what happens when it can't at all? Think about someone with complete locked-in syndrome, unable to move a single muscle. What happens in their mind?
Well, the conclusion here is kind of mind-blowing. The theory is that without any ability to create an effect, that endless, relentless cycle of wanting might just stop. It suggests a state of being free from the cravings and desires that drive every one of us every single day. A kind of peace or nirvana found in the most unimaginable condition. It just makes you wonder, what is it that really drives us? And who would we be without that drive?